and thank you for joining me for a dose of virtual vitamin Z. My name is Sandy, and I'm an education specialist for the Detroit Zoological Society, where we celebrate and save wildlife every day. As you can tell, I was just a butterfly, and I'm sitting in a field of milkweed, which is what the host plant is for monarch butterflies. So we're going to spend a little bit of time today talking and learning about monarch butterflies, and more specifically, their caterpillars. We're going to learn about what their caterpillars need to grow, and also how we can decide what age they are, or what instar they are, and see if we can figure out how soon they're going to be a butterfly. So let's start with a little bit of a refresher. So this is a monarch butterfly. You can tell it's a monarch butterfly because it has orange wings with black lines and kind of white spotted dotted outline. And like I said earlier, monarch butterflies need a specific type of plant, which is milkweed, which you can see behind me. And this plant, they need to lay their eggs on this plant for the caterpillars to be able to eat so that they can develop. This is a picture of a caterpillar just after it hatches. So when a monarch butterfly lays an egg on a milkweed plant, after a few days, that caterpillar hatches out of the egg and actually turns around and eats that shell. Now you'll notice this caterpillar is kind of gray in color, and we're going to look a little more closely at it later, but let's point out a couple things. It's kind of gray in color, and it's got a pair of antennae up here in the front. It's got some false antennae in the back, but they're not very long. They're little stubs. As caterpillars grow, their skin doesn't grow with them like our skin does. So our skin, we lose a little bit at a time as we go around, and when we brush off, our skin will kind of fall off, but we don't lose all of our skin at once. Much unlike the caterpillar, who actually, their skin doesn't grow with them. So it's kind of like their skin just gets a little bit too tight, and as they grow, their skin has to kind of break open and they pop out of their skin. And every time they shed their skin like that, that's called an instar. So it's a fancy name for just a different stage, but we're going to use that term instar throughout this video. So this caterpillar here is in its first instar. And you can kind of see here, this caterpillar is either in its second or third instar, and we'll talk a little bit about how we can distinguish between the two. I really do think this one's in its third instar because you can kind of see its antennae. We'll talk a little bit more about it too. And you can see this caterpillar is sitting on its host plant, getting ready to eat it. So what it looks like when a caterpillar breaks out of its skin and it starts its next instar, you can see it here. So this caterpillar is just shed its skin, and you can actually see its skin right here. Something that's kind of interesting is it has a face cap, so it's something that protects its face, and that also comes off, and you can see that right here. Something that's kind of cool is actually that the caterpillars will turn around and eat that skin because it's full of nutrients, and so they'll eat that skin to help regain those nutrients back into their bodies. So we've said a lot about instars and how the caterpillars grow. Now we can see them compared to each other. So here you can see the egg, and so you can see how tiny that little egg is. And then the caterpillars, you can see its first instar is just right here. So we're going to I'm going to give you some measurements of the different caterpillars, but to give you an idea, we're going to talk in millimeters. And a millimeter is if you took a penny and you turned it on its side, that side here, that's about 1 millimeter, to give you an idea of about how big they are. So we have the egg here, and then its first instar, the caterpillar, is here, and it is about 2 to 6 millimeters. So if I was to take 2 or 6 pennies and stack them together, that's about how big they are in that instar. Like I said, they're antennae, so they have antennae in the front, and they have false antennae in the back. Their antennae are barely visible in this instar. Then they shed their skin, and they'll probably eat it. And you can see they're now in their second instar, and then this guy is in his second instar. And so this caterpillar is anywhere from 2 to 9 millimeters. So again, if you took, 6 to 9 millimeters. So if you took 6 to 9 pennies and stacked them across each other, that's about how big a an instar 2 caterpillar is. Another way to think about it is about 2 pencils together. That's about 9-ish millimeters, a little bit closer to 10. You can start to see the antennae in the second instar of the caterpillar. They're smaller nubs, but you can start to see more definition, and you can start to see some color. So if you look at instar 1, it's kind of gray. In instar 2, you can actually start to see some of those black lines in there. And then instar 3, which you can see here, is about 10 to 14 millimeters. So again, 10 to 14 pennies stacked up against each other. And this guy, you can start to see the antennae much better. They're much more prominent than they were in instar 2. And you can start to see some real definition within those colors. So you can see the black, the yellow, and the white in lines within the shading of the caterpillar. And then instar 4, you can see here. And now these antennae, you cannot miss these antennae. They are nice and big. Instar 4 caterpillars are anywhere from 13 to 25 millimeters. So again, 13 to 25 pennies stacked together. And the really defining definition between instar 3 and 4 is that you can see those antennae super, super well. Instar 5 is this big guy here. They are anywhere from 25 to 45 millimeters in length. And they are, you can actually tell that they're the 5th instar because they've got those big defined black lines that help you be able to kind of pick them out. I think it's really interesting that you can pick out different characteristics if you slow down and you take a peek and see if you can figure out, do I see the antennae? Can I see some definite distinction among the color lines? Those are the kinds of things to look for if you take a moment and observe the caterpillars. So after the 5th instar, the caterpillar will form a J and it will create a chrysalis. And they will stay in a chrysalis for about a week. And if you've joined me before for Monarch Mysteries, I've mentioned that the chrysalis becomes clear and you can see the butterfly inside of it. And I have a photo of it today to show you. So you can see as the chrysalis, or as the butterfly inside the chrysalis develops, you can start to see different aspects of that butterfly. So you can see those orange wings, you can see the white and black lacy outlines, you can see the black lines. So you know that if you're watching a chrysalis, this butterfly is getting ready to eclose or to emerge from that chrysalis very soon. And this chrysalis is super, super close. If you see a chrysalis that looks like this, it's going to eclose or emerge from its chrysalis in the next 24 hours. So here, just so you can see kind of what it looks like. This is our 5th instar caterpillar here. He's going to form a J. And now something that's kind of interesting is that as the chrysalis is being formed by the caterpillar, it doesn't actually spin it. Some people think they spin a cocoon or something like that, but it's not. What the caterpillar actually does is it sheds its skin one last time, and instead of coming out as a caterpillar, it sheds its skin and it becomes a chrysalis. And then here's the progression as the butterfly emerges from the chrysalis or ecloses from the chrysalis. So they'll hang on the empty chrysalis, they'll let their wings dry, they'll pump fluid into their wings so that their wings are nice and open and not kind of crinkled like that. And then in a couple of hours, they'll be ready to fly. I do have an honorable mention with caterpillar instars because when I think about monarch caterpillars, they all have the same coloring through all of the instars. But this is a photo of a black swallowtail. And swallowtails, their caterpillars go through an interesting change within their instars. So this is an early instar. This is either instar 1 or 2 of a black swallowtail caterpillar. It kind of looks like bird poop if you're not paying real close attention to it on its host plant. A black swallowtail's host plant is rue or spice bush. It could be a couple of things. So if you're looking through those plants, you can actually sometimes miss them because they look a lot like bird poop. And then in later instars, after they shed their skin, they change quite a bit. And they change to look something like this. So you can notice there's a pretty big difference among those caterpillar instars. So if you're raising swallowtail caterpillars, you'll notice a big change as you get into those later instars. So now we're going to do an activity that we're going to make a craft that kind of helps us remember the life cycle of a butterfly. And we're going to use some fun things that you might be able to find around the house. So you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a paper plate or a piece of paper, some glue, a few different types of pasta. So orzo, there's like that twisty pasta, a shell, and a bow tie, and markers if you'd like. So I'm going to show you what you do. So I have here my life cycle of a butterfly. And so I took the orzo and I glued it to the top. And then if I think about what comes next, so after the orzo is my egg. So after my orzo becomes the caterpillar. And so the caterpillar is that twisty kind of pasta right there. And then after the caterpillar, it's the chrysalis. And so I used the shell there. And then very last was the bow tie pasta, which I can use for my butterfly. But it's it's important to remember this is a cycle. So the butterfly then lays the egg, which then becomes the caterpillar, which becomes the chrysalis, which becomes the butterfly, and it continues. So the skills and concept of doing this activity are, so we used observation skills. So when we're looking at those different instars of the caterpillars, slowing down and looking for those different details from instar to instar really helps us slow down and get a good look at the caterpillar and gives us an idea about how old they are. The vocabulary I used today was instar, which is the different stages within the caterpillar life cycle, and host plant, which is the plant that the butterflies need to be able to complete their life cycle. Thanks so much for joining me for this dose of virtual vitamin Z. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and head to the Detroit Zoo's website under education and virtual learning. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.